In 2025, while Americans debate their freedoms on social media, a woman in her 20s is being groomed to control nuclear weapons and rule 25 million people who've never known a single day of liberty. Kim Ju-ae, daughter of Kim Jong-un, represents something the world has never seen: the first female dictator, inheriting absolute power with zero experience and everything to prove. This isn't a succession, it's a countdown to catastrophe. Today, you'll hear from a North Korean diplomat who saw the classified documents planning her rise to power. Join us in standing up for human rights. Subscribe to hear more stories of freedom and the threats against it. I'm a North Korean defector who worked at the Foreign Ministry for 10 years. I served at North Korean embassies in Europe. I also worked at headquarters in Pyongyang. The first time I saw documents about Kim Ju-ae was in 2020. The title read "Succession Preparation Plan for the Female Comrade." Senior officials at the Foreign Ministry laughed. A woman as supreme leader? Ridiculous. In a male-dominated society like North Korea, the idea seemed absurd. But in 2022, everything changed. The tone of the document shifted completely. Expansion plan for female comrades' public activities. Strategy for building female comrades' external image. Methodology for establishing female comrades' succession legitimacy. This wasn't a joke anymore. The regime was serious. And in 2023, Kim Ju-ae started appearing in public regularly. Missile launch sites, military base inspections. Walking alongside Kim Jong-un. This wasn't a father-daughter outing. This was succession training. That's when I knew this was going to happen. There's plenty of content about Kim Ju-ae out there. Testimonies from her teachers, bodyguards, people around her. But today, I want to talk about something different. What happens if Kim Ju-ae actually takes power? What kind of disaster awaits the Korean Peninsula? And why is no one prepared? Not the South Korean government, not the Korean people, not the United States. As a diplomat, I saw the full picture of Kim Ju-ae's succession operation. This isn't just about one person. This is about the entire future of the North Korean regime. And that future is approaching much faster and much more dangerously than anyone realizes. I'll be honest with you, I'm scared. Not because the Kim Ju-ae era is coming, because no one is preparing for it. Watch South Korean news about Kim Ju-ae. Kim Ju-ae observes another missile launch. Kim Ju-ae inspects military base. People barely react. What's for dinner tonight matters more. But I know the truth. Kim Ju-ae isn't just news fodder. She's the person who will soon control nuclear weapons. And when that moment comes, everything on the Korean Peninsula changes. I'm making this video for one reason: to warn you, to tell you to prepare, to show you what kind of peninsula your children and grandchildren will inherit. The Kim Ju-ae era is coming. The question isn't if, it's when. And we have less time than you think. I'm going to tell you everything I saw at the Foreign Ministry, everything I analyzed, everything I fear. I hope this video becomes a record. In 2025, a defected diplomat warned us. Kim Jong-un had no choice. People keep asking, why Kim Ju-ae? Doesn't he have a son? What about Kim Yo-jong? The answer is simple. There were no other options. There are reports that Kim Jong-un has a son. People like Dennis Rodman have mentioned it. But he's never been shown publicly. Not his age, not a count, not even confirmation he exists. Even Foreign Ministry documents only mention Kim Ju-ae among Kim Jong-un's children. Even if there is a son, he's likely younger than Kim Ju-ae. Kim Ju-ae is estimated to have been born around 2012. A son would be even younger. Too young to present as a successor right now. Maybe it would work if Kim Jong-un stayed healthy for another 10 or 20 years. But the regime isn't that optimistic. Kim Jong-un's health problems have been raised for years. Fainting in 2020, heart surgery rumors, diabetes, gout. What we heard at the Foreign Ministry was worse. The marshal's health isn't good. Speed up the succession work. So what about Kim Yo-jong? Kim Yo-jong has made too many enemies. Party officials, military power brokers, even senior Foreign Ministry figures. Her cruelty is legendary. Cross her once and you're purged. If she becomes supreme leader, North Korea will drown in blood. And here's the most important reason. Kim Yo-jong is married and has children. A married woman becoming supreme leader in the North Korean system? That threatens the purity of the bloodline. Her husband's influence, interference from his family. The Kim dynasty will never allow that. So it's Kim Ju-ae. She's young, but Kim Jong-un can raise her himself. She's female, but still unmarried. She's pure Paek-2 bloodline. I saw an internal analysis document at the Foreign Ministry, written in 2022, if I remember correctly. The title was Advantages and Challenges of Female Comrades Succession. One sentence from that document still haunts me. The first female supreme leader in Korean history must secure domestic and international legitimacy. This will be the key variable for regime stability. What does that mean? Kim Ju-ae is inherently a weak successor, a female leader in a male-dominated society. Zero experience. In her 20s, military suspicion, party distrust. To be recognized as legitimate, she'll have to prove herself constantly. I'm as strong as my father. No stronger. That makes her more dangerous. Weak leaders become more cruel. Weak leaders become more hardline. Weak leaders become more unpredictable. Kim Jong-un ruled for at least 10 years before consolidating the system. He executed his uncle Jang Song-taek, assassinated his half-brother Kim Jong-nam, purged countless others to solidify power. But Kim Ju-ae? She'll have much less time. If Kim Jong-un suddenly collapses, she'll seize power unprepared. An unprepared leader holding the nuclear button. Can you imagine how dangerous that is? The Kim Ju-ae era will be completely different from the Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-un eras. More unstable, more violent, more unpredictable. What will a female dictator in her 20s do to prove her legitimacy? There's no historical precedent for this. We're about to face an entirely new kind of danger. And that danger has already begun. The moment Kim Jong-un collapses, three forces will move simultaneously in Pyongyang. This isn't speculation. There's an actual manual at the Foreign Ministry, Emergency Response Guidelines for Supreme Dignity Contingency. I've seen that document. First Force Hardline Military. Figures like Choi Ryong-hae, Park Jong-chun, Ri Pyong-chol. Men who've spent their entire lives in the military. How do they see Kim Ju-ae? That young girl thinks she can command us? The military will instinctively resist. Especially if Kim Jong-un dies suddenly and chaos ensues, the military will move. The coup probability is over 80%. The military must step in to stabilize the country. That's their justification. Second force, the party's Kim Ju-ae faction. Kim Yo-jong is the core. She'll use her niece Kim Ju-ae as a figurehead to seize real power. Foreign policy figures like Choi, Son Hui, economic figures like Kim To-kun, they'll join her. Their strategy is clear. We must protect the marshal's bloodline. Female comrade Kim Ju-ae is the great successor. And they'll immediately contact China. They know they can't survive without China. Third force, the State Security Department and Reconnaissance General Bureau. These are the real power brokers. Intelligence agencies, secret police, overseas operatives. They're the most pragmatic. Whoever wins, we need to survive. They'll side with the highest bidder. And they control something critical. Access to nuclear facilities. Whoever controls the nukes wins the power struggle. The emergency manual I saw at the Foreign Ministry said this. In case of supreme dignity, contingency, establish emergency contact with Chinese embassy within 48 hours. Prepare to request military support. 48 hours. What happens on the Korean Peninsula during those 48 hours? The command structure of forward North Korean units breaks down. No orders from Pyongyang. What do? Some units might take independent action. A vacuum forms around nuclear weapons control. This is the most dangerous moment. Who has authority to launch nuclear weapons? No one knows for sure. Tension at the 38th parallel hits maximum. South Korean and U.S. forces raise alert levels, detecting internal chaos in the north. North Korea might interpret this as invasion preparation. And in Pyongyang, gunfire erupts. Military coup forces clash with party Kim Ju-ae forces. Tanks roll into the streets. Documents burn inside state security buildings. During those 48 hours, what does South Korea do? What does the U.S. military do? The answer is simple. Nothing. The moment they intervene, Chinese troops cross the Yalu River. We're deploying peacekeeping forces to stabilize North Korea. That's China's justification. The United States doesn't want direct confrontation with China. South Korea can't move independently either. So we just watch. The power struggle unfolding beyond the 38th parallel. The bloodshed over nuclear weapons. And whatever the outcome, we have to accept it. If the military wins, a military dictatorship takes over. More hardline, more unpredictable. If the Kim Ju-ae faction wins, the coronation of blood begins. Either way, the Korean Peninsula becomes more dangerous. And we're not prepared. Let's say Kim Ju-ae survives the power struggle. She blocks the military coup, gets Chinese support, rises to supreme leader. What comes next? A celebration? Peaceful rule? Absolutely not. The real hell starts then. To survive, Kim Ju-ae must do certain things. First stage purges. The first 100 days after taking power are critical. She must eliminate every force that could challenge her. 30 to 40 senior military officials. 20 to 30 party officials among the discontented. Opposition within the State Security Department. All of them must go. The method will be exactly what Kim Jong-un did. Father's death was a conspiracy by treacherous forces. Blame part of the military for Kim Jong-un's death. The medical staff failed to treat him properly. It was deliberate negligence. Then execute them publicly. This isn't just revenge. It's creating terror. This is what happens when you defy female comrade Kim Ju-ae. When I was at the Foreign Ministry, I saw documents analyzing Kim Jong-un's early consolidation process. The core of terror rule is speed and scale. Hesitate and you die. Kim Ju-ae will do the same? No worse, because she's weaker. Second stage, establishing legitimacy. Purges alone aren't enough. Kim Ju-ae must prove herself. I'm as strong as my father. No stronger. How? Nuclear weapons. In her first year in power, there will be ICBM launches. Hwasong 18, Hwasong 19, new versions. Successful launch under female comrade Kim Ju-ae's orders. And nuclear tests. 7th, 8th nuclear test. Completion of nuclear force in the Kim Ju-ae era. Provocations against the South will intensify. NLL violations in the West Sea. Missile provocations. Cyber attacks. I am not weak towards South Korea. All of this will happen within 1 year. Third stage, massive military parade. Kim Ju-ae takes the podium. Tens of thousands of soldiers march before her. New weapons appear. Long live the great female comrade Kim Ju-ae. This isn't a show for the North Korean people. It's for the military. The military is mine. You have no choice but to follow me. Fourth stage, regime stabilization. Year 2 to year 3 of her rule. Economic dependence on China and Russia deepens. Give us aid and we'll be loyal. North Korea effectively becomes a Chinese vassal state. But Kim Ju-ae doesn't care. Survival comes first. Internal surveillance intensifies. AI technology, facial recognition, digital monitoring. China provides the technology. Scientific and technological powerhouse of the Kim Ju-ae era. In reality, it's a nationwide prison. And the personality cult begins. Kim Ju-ae era. Female leader. Goddess of Paektu. A new mythology is created. School textbooks change. Children are taught to worship Kim Ju-ae. What scares me most as a former diplomat is this. Kim Ju-ae has zero negotiation experience. At least Kim Jong-un met Trump. Singapore. Hanoi. Panmunjom. They failed, but he sat at the negotiating table. Kim Ju-ae, zero. A female dictator in her 20s steps onto the international stage for the first time. She can't afford to look weak. Peace proposals, dialogue requests. To Kim Ju-ae, that's weakness. My father negotiated with America and got nothing. I'm different. I never surrender. That will be Kim Ju-ae's logic. That's why the Kim Ju-ae era will be far more dangerous than the Kim Jong-un era. The door to dialogue closes completely. Provocations become more frequent and more extreme. And one mistake could lead to war. A misjudgment by an inexperienced leader in her 20s. Egging on by hardline advisors. With the nuclear button in front of her. Can you imagine how dangerous that is? The Kim Ju-ae era will begin in blood, be maintained through fear, and hurtle toward danger. The Kim Ju-ae generation is different. Completely fundamentally different. Kim Il-sung used to say this. Let's liberate South Korea and reunify the fatherland. To him, the South was an object of liberation. What about the Kim Jong-il era? Federal reunification. Low-level federation. Just words, no real intention, but at least they use the word reunification. Even in early Kim Jong-un years, he said, our nation together. But as time went on, the tone changed. Reunification? Well, regime security comes first. And in 2023, Kim Jong-un made a decisive announcement. He'd remove reunification clauses from the Constitution. Define the South as enemy state number 1. What does that mean? Declaration of abandoning reunification. South Korea is no longer our people, just an enemy state. In the Kim Ju-ae era, this will become more extreme. Just before I defected in 2024, I saw Youth League educational materials. The title was Differences Between South Korean Puppets and Our People. The content was shocking. South Koreans live as American colonial slaves and have lost our national identity. They are no longer Korean people, just lackeys of American imperialism. We are a different people from them. We alone are the true Korean nation. North Korean youth in their 20s are learning this. Kim Ju-ae learned this too. To her, the South isn't an object of reunification. It's an enemy state to be destroyed. When I was a diplomat in Europe, I met many South Koreans. They asked me, someday we'll reunify, right? We're one people. I couldn't answer. Honestly, we're already different peoples. We speak the same language, but think differently. The same blood flows, but values differ. We've lived in completely different worlds for over 70 years. What North Koreans think freedom means and what South Koreans think freedom means are different. What North Koreans think a nation is and what South Koreans think a nation is are different. What North Koreans think about South Korea and what South Koreans think about North Korea are completely different. Kim Joo-a's generation of North Korean youth learned this. K-pop, decadent culture. Mental drugs. Korean dramas, capitalist poison. Defectors, national traitors. South Korea, American colony. Enemy state. That's their worldview. When Kim Joo-a takes power, this education will intensify. Peaceful reunification with South Korea is impossible. We must topple the South Korean regime and establish our system, or live forever as two separate states. South Koreans still dream of reunification. Reunification jackpot. Peaceful reunification. North-South reconciliation. Politicians talk about reunification to win votes, but we need to face reality. Kim Joo-a's ascension means permanent end to reunification talks. The North Korean regime has officially abandoned reunification. The young generation learns the South is an enemy. System differences keep widening. What reunification in this situation? Even if North Korea collapses, that's not reunification. That's absorption, occupation, and the chaos afterward will be unimaginable. I'll talk about that in the next section. Reunification jackpot? An illusion. Reunification in the Kim Joo-a era won't be a jackpot, it'll be a catastrophe. We need to acknowledge this now. North Koreans don't see us as the same people, especially the Kim Joo-a generation. To them, we're enemies. We need to face reality too. Not preparing for reunification, preparing for permanent division. The Kim Joo-a era isn't an era of reunification. It's an era of permanent division, and that dividing line will keep getting higher, thicker, impossible to cross. If Kim Jong-un dies suddenly, what's the most realistic scenario? War? Nuclear attack? No. Mass defection rush. 300 to 500,000 people. Maybe more. All moving toward the 38th parallel simultaneously. Can South Korea handle this? The answer is clear. Impossible. Who will defect? First, soldiers. When orders from Pyongyang stop, forward unit soldiers must choose. Go to Pyongyang and get caught in the power struggle or escape south. Tens of thousands of soldiers head to the 38th parallel with weapons, AK rifles, grenades, some with anti-tank weapons. These are trained combatants. Second, state security personnel and reconnaissance general bureau agents. They have criminal records. Torture, executions, kidnappings, assassinations. When a new regime takes over, they're first on the purge list. They'll defect to survive. Third, ordinary citizens. Most escape without preparation. No food, no money, no plan. Just vague hope that going south means survival. Fourth, ethnic Koreans from China join in. Opportunists trying to enter South Korea amid the chaos. All of them converge on the 38th parallel. The 38th parallel, minefields, meaningless in a contingency. When tens of thousands cross simultaneously, you can't stop them. Mines explode, but they keep coming, breaking through fences, crossing rivers, climbing mountains. How does the South Korean military respond? Shoot, fire on tens of thousands? At our own people asking for help? Impossible. Then accept them? Let's look at South Korea's capacity. Hana-1 capacity 500 people. Annual defector processing capacity 1,000 to 2,000 people. Expected defectors in contingency 300,000 to 500,000. The math doesn't work. Where do you house 500,000 people? Gyms, schools, military bases? Even if you build temporary facilities, there's no infrastructure. Toilets, beds, meals, medical care. Nothing is prepared. And there's a bigger problem. How do you screen them? Who's an ordinary citizen? Who's military? Who's state security? Criminals, spies, opportunists? Screen 500,000 people individually? Each person takes at least several weeks. For 500,000 people, how many years? Where do they live in the meantime? I'm a defector. It took me years to adapt to South Korea. I was a prepared defector. I had money, a plan, education. It was still hard. The language is the same, but words mean different things. It took me a year just to understand what freedom meant. 2 years to accept the concept of competition. 3 years to understand what individual choice was. We lived in completely different systems for 70 years. Different ways of thinking, different values, different behaviors. 500,000 such people arrive at once. Unprepared, traumatized, confused. How do you treat PTSD in former North Korean soldiers? How do you handle state security personnel who committed torture? How do you classify those with criminal records? How do you identify suspected spies? All of this happens simultaneously, and South Korean society descends into chaos. Job competition, rising crime, social conflict. Why should our taxes feed them? They're taking our jobs. North Koreans commit lots of crimes. Discrimination and hatred begin. Look at German reunification. Germany was a prepared reunification. West Germany was an economic powerhouse. East Germany had 16 million people. Still, 30 years later, East-West tensions persist. Economic gaps, cultural differences, mutual distrust. What about South Korea? Not prepared. No budget. No plan. North Korea has 25 million people, much more than Germany, and the system difference is much greater. Germany was divided 40 years, we've been divided over 70. It will be much worse. Unprepared reunification isn't a blessing, it's a disaster. Mass defection rush is more complex than war. War is stopped by the military. But can you use the military to stop fellow Koreans fleeing? No, you have to accept them. And the whole of South Korean society pays the price. Kim Jong-un contingency could happen anytime, tomorrow or in a year. But South Korea isn't prepared. That's reality. The most shocking thing since I came to South Korea, no one is seriously preparing. North Korean contingency, Kim Ju-ae era, mass defection. All of these are real threats. But what about the South Korean government? Look at conservative governments. They claim North Korean collapse theory. North Korea will collapse someday. The system can't sustain itself. Correct. The North Korean system is abnormal. But so what? Is there a concrete response plan? No. We'll think about it when North Korea collapses. Is that a strategy? What's the contingency budget? Accommodation facility plans? Defector processing systems? Chinese military intervention scenarios? Response to nuclear control vacuum? Nothing. They just say North Korea will collapse, but don't actually prepare. That's irresponsible. What about progressive governments? They emphasize peace process. Let's resolve it through dialogue. Reconciliation and cooperation are the answer. Fine. Peace matters. But if the other side refuses dialogue, if Kim Ju-ae won't sit at the negotiating table, we still have to keep trying dialogue. For how many years? 10? 20? Meanwhile, North Korea keeps making nuclear weapons, develops missile technology. Kim Ju-ae gets more hardline. What about contingency preparation? Talking about that provokes North Korea. It harms the peace atmosphere. Is that an answer? Contingency preparation provokes North Korea? Does typhoon preparation training cause typhoons? Does earthquake planning cause earthquakes? It makes no sense. What about Kim Ju-ae? We should seek dialogue opportunities with the young leader. Generational change could be an opportunity for change, an illusion. Kim Ju-ae doesn't want dialogue. She wants survival. She wants power. She wants to prove herself. Peace, negotiation, to her that's weakness. Conservative or progressive, both are wrong. North Korea won't collapse easily, but dialogue won't solve it either. Reality is somewhere in between. The North Korean system is holding on, but contingency could come anytime. Kim Ju-ae won't dialogue, but doesn't want war either. She'll just survive, maintain power, and become more dangerous. That's reality. But the South Korean government won't face this reality. I'm from the Foreign Ministry. I saw internal North Korean documents. A colleague at the Foreign Ministry recently sent me a message. Young Kim Ju-ae's public activities increased again. She appears almost every week now. North Korea is rapidly advancing Kim Ju-ae's succession work. I watch South Korean news. Kim Ju-ae observes another missile launch. North Korea expands Kim Ju-ae's public activities. How do South Koreans react? Oh yeah? What's for dinner tonight? Kim Ju-ae. Who's that again? Apathy. That's reality. Politicians only calculate votes. Will the North Korea issue win votes or not? If it won't, they're not interested. Experts just write books. Understanding the North Korean system. Preparing for reunification. The path to peace. Nice titles. But no concrete response plans. Citizens are apathetic. North Korea? That faraway country? Nothing to do with us. Just something we see on the news. They don't care when North Korea develops nuclear weapons. They don't care when Kim Ju-ae appears. When missiles fly, they just say they fired again and move on. I once gave a lecture in South Korea. The topic was preparing for North Korean contingency. The audience was about 30 people. Most were over 60. Hardly any young people. After the lecture, one young person asked, "If North Korea collapses, will our taxes go up?" I was stunned. Hundreds of thousands of defectors, system collapse, humanitarian crisis. I talked about all that, and what he cared about was taxes. That's South Korea's reality. No interest. They think it's not their problem. The government will handle it. America will help. Surely nothing that bad will happen. But the government isn't preparing. America doesn't care as much as South Korea does. And disasters come without warning. Kim Jong-un could collapse tomorrow. Heart attack. Stroke. Cancer. Coup. Assassination. The possibilities are open. In that moment, South Korea must choose. But there are no options. Because they're not prepared. They improvise. Chaos comes. And the people pay the price. As a defector, I'm telling you, the South Korean government has failed. Conservative governments. Progressive governments. Every administration has avoided this issue. Not right now. The next government will do it. It doesn't win votes. They've wasted 30 years like this. And now the Kim Ju-ai era is coming. There's little time left to prepare. But still, no one is preparing. That's what scares me most. Let me tell you why I'm making this video. I know the North Korean system inside out. I worked at the foreign ministry for 10 years. I know their logic. I know their fears. I know their cruelty. And I know how dangerous Kim Ju-ai is. Kim Ju-ai is a game changer. Completely different from previous leaders. Kim Il-sung was the founding generation. Experienced, old, somewhat predictable. Kim Jong-il received succession training for 30 years. A prepared leader. Kim Jong-un had at least a few years of preparation. But Kim Ju-ai, the youngest. Zero experience. The weakest. Fragile legitimacy. The most dangerous. Strong need to prove herself. And she'll control nuclear weapons. A female dictator in her 20s holding the nuclear button. With desperation to prove her legitimacy. Surrounded by hardliners. Zero international negotiation experience. How dangerous is that? This isn't a story about 5 or 10 years from now. Kim Jong-un could collapse tomorrow. Heart attack, cancer, coup, assassination. The possibilities are open. When that moment comes, the Korean Peninsula descends into chaos. Power struggle erupts in Pyongyang. Military party-state security clash. Nuclear control vacuum emerges. 38th parallel tension peaks. Hundreds of thousands of defectors head south. Chinese troops prepare to cross the Yalu River. Will we be ready then? Ready to receive hundreds of thousands of defectors? Ready to respond to nuclear control vacuum? Ready to respond to Chinese military intervention? Ready to confront a Kim Ju-ai regime? Nothing is ready. Politicians just calculate votes. Can we win elections with this issue? If not, no interest. Experts just write books. Understanding North Korea. The Path to Reunification. Vision for Peace. Nice titles, but no realistic response plans. Citizens are apathetic. North Korea, that's far away. Just something on the news. What's it got to do with us? What's for dinner tonight matters more. Celebrity news is more interesting. North Korean missiles? They fired again and move on. That's reality. But I know, this isn't a faraway story. This is your story. Your children's story. Your grandchildren's story. When the Kim Ju-ai era comes, the Korean Peninsula changes. Reunification becomes permanently impossible. The door to dialogue closes completely. Tension rises higher. Provocations become more frequent. And someday, one mistake could trigger war. If your son is doing military service, if your daughter lives in Seoul, if your grandchild goes to school, have you thought about what kind of peninsula they'll inherit? As a defector, I'm giving you a final warning. The Kim Ju-ai era is coming. This isn't a question of if, it's when. If you don't prepare, your children will pay the price. There are things you can do after watching this video. First, share this video. Tell people around you. There's someone named Kim Ju-ai. Do you know how dangerous this is? Second, ask politicians. What's the North Korean contingency plan? Do you have a response plan for the Kim Ju-ai era? Are you prepared for mass defection? Demand concrete answers. We'll resolve it through dialogue. We'll think about it when it happens. Don't accept vague answers like that. Third, teach your children the reality of North Korea. North Korea is our people, so we'll reunify someday. Don't plant that illusion. Teach reality. North Korea is a dictatorship. They see us as enemies. Someone named Kim Ju-ai could seize power soon. This is very dangerous. You can only prepare when you know reality. I hope this video becomes a record. 10, 20 years from now, someone will watch this and say, in 2025, a defector warned us. We should have listened. We should have prepared. I hope we won't have that regret. It's not too late yet. Kim Jong-un is still alive. Kim Ju-ai hasn't seized power yet. We still have time. Not much, but we have it. Prepare now. Speak up now. Act now. Your apathy determines your children's future. Your silence determines the fate of the Korean Peninsula. I came from North Korea. I experienced that hell. I risked my life to escape. I found freedom. Now my job is to warn you, so you don't experience the hell I went through. So your children don't experience war. So your grandchildren don't inherit the tragedy of division. The Kim Ju-ae era is coming. Prepare. Time is running out. If this video helped you, please subscribe and like. Your attention can change the future of the Korean Peninsula. Preparing for North Korean contingency. Preparing for the Kim Ju-ae era. It's all our responsibility.